Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Céline Lebrun-Shaath. She is the wife of Ramy Shaath, a Palestinian-Egyptian activist jailed in Egypt since July. Thank you very much for being on the set. Ramy Shaath is the coordinator in Egypt of the Boycott campaign against Israel, known as BDS, Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions. He also happens to be the son of Nabil Shaath, a well-known Palestinian Authority figure and who is still an advisor to its president, Mahmoud Abbas. Thank you very much for being with us. I want to go back on the night of July 4th in Cairo. You are in your apartment with your husband when suddenly...
I am actually going back home. So I literally entered the building with the security forces. So I saw all the security forces who literally stormed the building, heavily armed. Some men, we couldn't see their faces. And they entered the flat with no warrant, no explanations. They started gathering all the computers, hard disks, mobile phones. My husband obviously was asking them the reason for their presence in the flat and if that meant that he was being arrested. Obviously didn't get any answer until the last moment when they told him that you're coming with us too. And they also took the decision in the middle of all this to deport me back to France. I'm a French citizen, so when I actually expressed that I wanted to call the consulate because all this didn't feel right, obviously, this is when the answer was, since you want to call your consulate, you have 10 minutes to pack your bag and we'll take you to the airport.
And so you were expelled directly on a plane to France?
Not directly, actually. I spent 7 hours in a room at the airport before being able to take the first plane. And again, all along I asked for the right to call my consulate or a lawyer, and this has been denied.
Okay. So your husband is in jail since his arrest on that night. We've learned that he was charged with assisting a quote-unquote terrorist group. Since then, some bits of information have surfaced that he would be part of a group tied to the Muslim Brotherhood, which is obviously banned and clearly the enemy of the regime of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the president of Egypt. And but for now, there's no trial. He sits in jail as we speak, correct?
Yes, exactly. And actually, it could be up to 2 years before Ramy actually is tried in the current legal system. So, for example, he is now detained by the public prosecution that can detain him for 150 days. So today
it's been 100 days.
It's been 100 days, and we have 50 days more to wait before Ramy will be brought to a judge that can then decide to renew him for 45 days and up to 2 years. So this is the cycle that we are trying to break today. Ramy has no reason to be in jail. There is no substantiated charge for him to be there in the first place.
There's no ties with the Muslim Brotherhood?
There is nothing of that sort. This is an accusation that is being used simply to target peaceful activists, opponents to the regime.
This is fabricated? This is a political prisoner we're talking about?
This is a political prisoner, a prisoner of conscience, as recognized by Amnesty International, who is part of the campaign we're carrying today to release Ramy. So we ask for his immediate and unconditional release, not for a trial, just for his release.
What are his conditions? He is in a prison notorious for abuses, according to human rights groups. Has he been abused? Is he in good health?
So,
what can you tell her? You have only indirect contact with him.
I'm obviously only in direct contact with Ramy, though a few weeks ago the prosecutor allowed us to have a 5 minutes phone call. Ramy is well, physically, and his integrity hasn't been...
no torture.
No torture, though with the last news of recent activists who have been arrested and tortured, I'm worried. I think anyone should be. Ramy, nevertheless, there is no physical torture. Being in a prison is in itself some kind of torture. He's right now in a cell with 25 square meter with more than 17 people, sleeping on the floor, on covers. So yeah, it's very, very poor condition.
As I said, he also is the son of Nabil Shaath, a well-known figure. So he was arrested in early July. The family only came out in public towards the end of August. Have there been attempts to negotiate this? Have you asked, or not you directly, the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, to talk to the Egyptian president or the Egyptian top authorities to solve the case quietly?
Yes, obviously our objective is not to make a big fuss around this. I mean, our objective today is very simple. It's to get Ramy out of prison. And so we tried this first through diplomatic channels, through Ramy's father and the Palestinian Authority. So Mahmoud Abbas sent an envoy to Cairo who negotiated there, and promises were made that Ramy would be released. So this is why we actually waited for 6 weeks.
To go public.
And then when we saw that these promises were not being fulfilled, so we decided to go public.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you think he was arrested? I mean, he obviously had two hats, if I may use that expression. He was very involved in the campaign to boycott Israel, that's number one. And then he was also an opponent to the previous regime, but I would say to the current regime as well in Egypt. Why do you think he was arrested if you say it's fabricated?
Well, obviously, yes. So the regime, what we see is that the regime is trying also to, there is, I would say, a grudge with people who played a role in the revolution. And obviously, they had issues with Ramy from a long time. There have been attempts already in 2012 to, they banned him from travel, and they tried to deny also his nationality, refusing to renew his passport. Ramy won the case, but the Ministry of Interior appealed this case, that it's still ongoing today. So it's not the first time. Nevertheless, Ramy was never arrested before. We think that what triggered this move is Ramy, I would say, very public and passionate opposition to the deal of the century.
The Israeli-Palestinian deal presented, or still not presented actually, by Donald Trump.
Yes, exactly. And the conference, the Bahrain conference, that was supposed to be the economic side of this deal.
In June, right?
Yes, in 25th of June, there is this conference. Ramy is very vocal against it, attacking or criticizing the Egyptian government participation to this conference. And on the 5th of July, Ramy is being arrested.
So this begs a question. Did Egypt arrest him because of his known opposition to the regime, or did Egypt arrest him because Israel asked Egypt to do so?
Well, I don't know about Israel intervention in this. One thing is that when the Palestinian envoy met with his counterpart, BDS was mentioned as one of the as something that was creating issues for the Egyptians. So we have the question. We can, I think, legitimately ask ourselves the question. But nevertheless, I think it's, I would say, a cocktail of things.
Right. The French authorities, you're French. I understand you reached out to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The French foreign minister went to Egypt. He reportedly spoke about Ramy's case to his Egyptian counterpart, but you haven't heard anything back, which is not a good sign, obviously.
Well,
or a disappointing one, let's say.
I didn't hear yet back, but on the other side, I know they've actually reached out to the Egyptian embassy here in Paris, and the Egyptian embassy told that they were willing to receive me, and finally, actually today, I got a call by the Egyptian embassy, and so I'm supposed to see them Thursday, and I hope that this will be a first step toward the resolution of this situation that is not good for anyone.
Just as the last question, would you hope that France will be more vocal in securing the release of your husband and maybe other human rights militants behind bars in Egypt?
Yes, definitely. I think France has a big role to play to promote human rights
And
everywhere.
it's not doing enough.
Yeah, I think in this case, yes, we have seen, for example, today with Turkey that it's capable of taking very strong position. We have been, I know NGOs have been waiting for France to take similar action toward Egypt, because we see today, for example, armed vehicles were being used to repress peaceful protesters, and they are made in France. So yes, I think we can expect from France more. There is in 1 month there will be the universal periodic review of the human rights situation in Egypt at the United Nations, and so I think this is one opportunity among others for France also to take a strong stance and not only defend human rights in Egypt, but also protect its citizens, because today they are also yes, threatened of being expelled at any time, and I don't think that this is the price of a good relationship between France and Egypt.
Okay. Céline Lebrun-Shaath, thank you very much for coming to the France 24 studio, and thank you very much for watching this edition of The Interview. Stay tuned for more news.